EXS 24 is very efficient.
It's a great sampler.
It is a great sampler, and I use it a lot. Even though I have this big setup, my big setup is taking up, like Chris was saying. How don't be afraid, because we're saying that you're going to need 2 or 3 computers to run Divisi. Well, like we're running 6, 7 computers,
Yeah.
8, just because I'm running, I use VSL, and I use Vienna, and I use AI.
And I bet you go through a
mean,
whole day when you don't even use 5 of those computers.
Right.
Well,
Oh, absolutely. And all my custom sounds. A lot of my custom sounds Chris made. I'm using sounds that Chris made. When Chris made sounds for the Emulator 2. Chris made sounds for
Right.
the Waveframe.
Yeah.
And I'm using and those sounds have actually been ported out, redone.
My favorite oboe in the history of the universe
Chris
is the Produce 2 had this awesome oboe on it.
That's Chris's.
And that's Chris's. I mean, and this is where he's coming from. This is why he knows.
That's where we met. I recorded that in Zagreb with this guy.
Did you do the Proteus 1 demo?
Yes, I did.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Chris.
And I did the Emulator 1 demo too, and 2.
Yeah.
CS80. I mean, Chris goes back to the Yamaha, very all involved in the CS80.
Yes, I'm responsible for the DX7 manual, so you can hit me right now.
You're just getting started.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Which library would you say?
I don't even know, but I would get a Mac 8-core machine and maybe a PC that you could run a bunch of other, maybe the East-West Silver Series, which is cheap, right? And then you get a lot of bang for your buck on that.
East-West.
And also Sonic implants, those are kind of 2 of my go-to things. But really, if you want to do the sophisticated stuff, you got to go to AI. I mean,
Yeah, you're going to end up eventually. You're
we're
gonna
just
wanna
talking
go
about
to AI.
basic stuff, to get you started. But if you really want to start really,
All the SAM stuff as well.
So it's good to have both
Sam
Mac
stuff
and
is
PC
excellent.
setups.
I think it is. It's good to have both of those.
I'm sorry, you
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone had ever heard or used Eric Linderman's Sinful. 'Cause that's a good thing to use.
I downloaded it and tried it and just
I didn't
kind of
like it,
didn't.
yeah,
It was
either.
just
sounds
it was
like
the
a
antithesis of what Chris is doing.
Right.
Where that is really, you have to play the part and then you have to go in and start messing with it afterwards, trying to get the articulation. Where Divisi is all about real time. And
Yeah, I do have to say, and actually, he and I go back 30 years. And I do have to say, in his defense, though, he's a freaking genius. He is a genius. And I guarantee you, one day, his process will be the way it's done. As soon as there is enough compute power
Right.
to do it in real time, this guy's going to make a freaking fortune. He's going to be richer than God when that happens.
We have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a little bit different question. You guys have been beating me up. I'm a film producer.
Uh-oh, the enemy.
We love
I
you.
like
We
film
love
producers.
everything you've ever done.
What are you working on? Do you have a composer?
What's the budget?
What's the budget?
Right now, I'm taking on a new project, and it's something I've not done before. But I'm also a music composer, and I'm married to what I consider the best music producer and composer in the industry. Sorry, guys, I have to go home with it this afternoon.
Who is? Because I know.
That's
who,
wonderful.
I mean, keep looking at him. I know who he is. Who is he?
His name is Dale Kay. He's with Inquisitor Betrayer. And we have a production company. I won't.
That's great.
Anyway, my question is, because this is the first time I've taken on an episodic situation, and the past has been independent films and that sort of thing. And of course, he's written the music for the show and whatnot. And what I wanted to know, because we're only just doing the pilot right now, is as the show progresses from episode to episode, do you try to keep something of the theme in each episode in the music, or do you just totally start over or whatever?
That's such a good question.
I think it's almost a case-by-case basis. Like when Joel, I actually started with Joel doing Stargate SG-1, and there was a mandate that if we didn't use David Arnold's Stargate theme, we got fired, you know, like every 30 seconds. So, you know, it was like that, right? It was just crazy.
First 2 seasons.
And then they turned around and said, "Don't ever use that again."
Yeah,
You know,
Richard Dean Anderson made a call and said, "I don't want to hear it anymore." And
Yeah,
immediately-
exactly.
It sounds like the CD got stuck. Da, 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 da,
So-
da, 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 da.
There were a lot more
Keep-
themes.
Luckily,
Luckily, David had a plethora of themes that we could use, but
I think that you want to keep at least the vibe of the show going on. It may not be the melody, but I think it would be cool if it was a melody. And I think it would be cool. I mean, what I try to do is set up character melodies that carry throughout. And you know, and laymen, even composers, may not know that I'm using a character melody because I'm using it in a weird way or something
Yeah.
like that. But I think there's a palette, you know, like we're talking about CSI, which is all tweaked out and atmospheric. That's I think almost number one these days, even more than melody. But melody is still huge.
Well, it's like Star Trek. I kind of had a problem when Enterprise came on because there
Thank
was-
you.
there
I
was
did the last 2 years of that.
nothing. But, you know, I'm sorry. You know,
Yeah.
there was no Star Trek anything in
That's
there.
right,
It's like,
and that was
what
very
happened?
much from the producers.
that was Berman.
That wasn't our fault. I mean, because every there wasn't. Well, whatever it was. But
Diane Warren song.
yeah, it was a Diane Warren song. And every time we would try to do that, they would shoot us down. And every time, I mean, they milked that show down to get, like, I had a big action scene where I was like writing anvils and they took everything out. I was like, let's just make it.
No percussion.
No percussion, no big percussion, no. Oh, what was that? You know, it's
Oh,
just
Yeah. One thing you will notice though,
so everybody's different, you know, and I mean, as a producer, you're going to have your own style and stuff, so you're going to dictate a lot of that, you know, because what I'm talking about came straight from the heads of Star Trek. They wanted things to be very kind of milk toasty, you know.
Yeah. There is one word of heavy advice I give you guys who are doing orchestral scores, okay? The one thing that recording engineers adore to do while you're rehearsing is to hit the solo button. And the producer's sitting right there as they're hearing the piece for the
Right.
first time. Doomka, 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 doomka. Okay,
And you hear an oboe going,
right, and you know what happens? That's right. And you know what happens is the producer, right, who's not a savvy musician usually, will forever, and I mean forever, indelibly get the idea that the oboe is an unusable instrument.
That is absolutely true. And you know something, and I've wanted to physically accost recording engineers
Yes,
in a
who did
session
that.
when they have done that. I just want to absolutely kill them. And
Yeah.
they are so oblivious to the politics of what's going on.
Yeah,
And
they're just thinking, oh, I'm an engineer, blues engineer, like I'm alone in the room, you know? That's that's what I would do when I'm mixing an album. What's
But you
wrong
don't
with
find
this?
that. You don't find it,
You know?
and which is a good reason if you're doing something to get a reputable engineer.
Yeah.
and a savvy guy who knows. Yeah,
Who understands the politics
Yeah, I
of
got
But
it.
I learned the secret on that one. What I do is always have an assistant that goes out and rehearses the parts to make sure that everything works right. We get the mechanics down. Then what you do is you go to the producer and go, hey, I've got something to talk to you about. You take him out, let the engineer solo the crap out of it, all he wants, right? And you say, you're done soloing for the day, pal. And then you come back in. Well, you know,
I gotta
Done.
tell you, I think you'd find. I think you find that often a good engineer doesn't do a lot of soloing anyways. You know,
Oh, it's
they
really,
do
I've got a
more
great,
muting than soloing.
oh God, I've got a great story about, you
We
know.
could go all night, right?
Oh, yeah,
And
no.
we plan on it too.
Anyway.
Because all I have to do is go back and work, and I'd rather do this than work.